They looked her in the eye and told her she was broken. They said a Luna who couldn't produce an heir was worse than a rogue. When Alpha Declan severed their bond, he didn't just break her heart. He signed her death warrant, casting her out into the freezing wilderness of the Montana mountains. But the Silver Creek pack made a fatal mistake. They thought Kaya was weak. They didn't know that when a wolf dies, sometimes a monster is born. 5 years have passed. She isn't just coming back. She's bringing the Alpha's triplets, a vengeance that burns like napalm, and a secret that breathes fire. This is the story of the Luna who rose from the ashes. The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Alpha's estate in Silver Creek, Montana. It was a cold, unyielding downpour, the kind that turned the dirt roads into rivers of mud. Inside the mahogany-paneled office, the atmosphere was suffocating. Kaya sat on the edge of the leather chair, her hands trembling in her lap. She was 22, vibrant, and until 10 minutes ago, the happiest she had ever been. She was the fated mate of Alpha Declan, the man who controlled the largest territory in the Pacific Northwest. But now, Dr. Harrison, the pack's head physician, placed a file on the desk with a heavy thud. "I'm afraid the results are conclusive, Alpha," Dr. Harrison said, his voice dripping with faux sympathy. He adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses, refusing to look Kaya in the eye. Kaya's uterus is underdeveloped. The scarring from her childhood shift. It's extensive. She is clinically barren. She will never carry a pup, let alone an alpha heir. The heir left the room. Kaya stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the hardwood. "That's impossible," she whispered, her voice cracking. "My heat cycles are normal. I feel fine. Harrison, check again." "I have checked 3 times, Kaya," the doctor said sharply. Declan stood by the window, his back to them. He was a towering figure, broad-shouldered, with hair the color of dark oak. He was usually warm, his eyes full of affection for her. Now he was a statue. "Declan," Kaya pleaded, reaching out to touch his arm. "Look at me. You know me. We can adopt. There are so many war orphans from the border skirmishes." Declan turned. His face was a mask of anguish, but his eyes, those steel-grey eyes she loved, were cold. "An alpha bloodline cannot be broken, Kaya," he said, his voice low. "The Council is already pressuring me. The pack is weak after the last winter. We need an heir to secure the alliance with the northern packs. If I don't produce a son, they will challenge my leadership. War will break out." "So that's it?" Kaya stepped back, feeling like she'd been slapped. "I'm just an incubator to you?" "It's about duty," Declan roared, the alpha command vibrating in his chest. "I have a duty to 300 people. I cannot be selfish." The door to the office creaked open. Sienna walked in. Sienna was the daughter of the Beta, a tall, striking blonde, with a smile that never quite reached her eyes. She had been Declan's childhood friend, and Kaya had always known Sienna wanted her spot. "Declan," Sienna said softly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "The Council is waiting in the hall. They know about the medical report." Kaya's eyes widened. "How? We just found out 5 seconds ago." Sienna ignored her, focusing only on Declan. "They are demanding a rejection, Dec. For the good of the pack. You know I'm fertile. My father has already offered the dowry." Kaya felt bile rise in her throat. It was a setup. It had to be, but the medical papers were stamped with the official seal. Declan looked at Sienna, then at Kaya. The silence stretched for an eternity, broken only by the thunder rattling the windows. He closed his eyes, a tear leaking out. But when he opened them, the man Kaya loved was gone. Only the Alpha remained. "Kaya," he said, his voice void of emotion, "I, Alpha Declan of the Silver Creek Pack, reject you as my mate and Luna." The pain hit Kaya like a physical blow. The mating bond, a golden thread that connected their souls, snapped. She screamed, clutching her chest, falling to her knees. It felt like her heart was being ripped out through her ribs. You can't stay here, Declan said, turning away, unable to watch her agony. A rejected mate causes instability in the pack. You have 1 hour to pack your things. You are banished from Silver Creek territory. Banished, Kaya gasped, tears streaming down her face. It's a storm, Declan. The rogues are active near the border. You're sentencing me to death. I will give you a car and cash, Declan said, his back still turned. Go west. Don't look back. Sienna smirked, a tiny, imperceptible twitch of her lips, before masking it with a sad frown. I'll help her pack, Alpha. Kaya scrambled to her feet. She looked at the man she would have died for. You will regret this, Declan, she hissed, the pain turning into a cold, hard rage. Not because you lost me, but because you believed a lie. She didn't pack. She ran. She ran out of the estate, into the blinding rain, shifting into her wolf, a sleek, tawny-coloured she-wolf. She didn't take the car. She ran towards the forbidden forest, the only place where the Silver Creek patrols wouldn't follow. She ran until her paws bled. She ran until the cold numbed her mind. But she wasn't alone. As she crossed the ridge into the dense tree line, 3 dark shadows detached themselves from the woods. Rogues, feral wolves with matted fur and yellow, hungry eyes. Kaya was exhausted. The rejection had drained her energy. She snarled, backing up against a cliff edge, the jagged rocks of the canyon waiting below. The lead rogue lunged. Kaya fought back, her teeth sinking into his shoulder, but she was outnumbered. Another rogue clamped his jaws onto her hind leg, shattering the bone. She howled in agony. She was going to die here, alone, unloved, rejected. Declan, she thought, her vision blurring. Why? The lead rogue prepared for the killing bite to her throat. Suddenly the sky above them lit up, not with lightning but with fire. A roar shook the very foundation of the mountain, a sound deeper and more primal than any wolf howl. A massive shadow descended from the clouds, blotting out the moon. The rogues froze, whimpering. A stream of blue fire incinerated the ground between Kaya and the rogues. The heat was intense, instantly turning the rain into steam. Through the mist, a man landed. He didn't shift from a wolf. He dropped from the sky, wings of obsidian leather folding into his back as he hit the ground. He was naked from the waist up, his skin etched with glowing blue runes. He looked at the rogues with bored, violet eyes. Leave, or become ash. The rogues didn't hesitate. They scrambled away, tails between their legs. The stranger turned to Kaya. She shifted back to a human form, naked and shivering, clutching her broken leg. She looked up at him. He was terrifyingly beautiful, with long silver hair and a presence that made an alpha's aura feel like a candle next to a supernova. "Who are you?" she whispered, darkness creeping into the edges of her vision. The man knelt, scooping her up into his arms as if she weighed nothing. His skin was incredibly warm, like a furnace. "I am Cyrus," he said, his voice sounding like grinding stones, "and you, little wolf, are far more than they told you." Kaya blacked out. Kaya woke up to the smell of cedar and cinnamon. She wasn't in the mud. She was lying in a bed so large it could fit 4 people, covered in furs that felt like silk. The room was carved directly into living rock, illuminated by sconces that held floating balls of blue fire. She sat up, gasping. Her leg. She threw off the covers. Her leg was whole. Not just healed, but perfect. There wasn't even a scar. "The regeneration capabilities of the Draconis bloodline are potent," a voice echoed. Kaya jerked her head up. Cyrus was standing by a stone balcony that overlooked a valley she didn't recognize. The sky outside was a swirling purple nebula. This wasn't Montana anymore. Or at least not a part of it humans or wolves knew. "Where am I?" Kaya demanded, pulling the furs up to her chin. "The Ethel Guard. The Sanctuary of the Hidden," Cyrus said, turning to face her. He wore loose linen pants now, but the glowing runes on his chest were still visible. "You have been asleep for 3 days. 3 days! I have to go," Kaya panicked. Well, I have nowhere to go. The memory of the rejection crashed into her. Declan, Sienna, the Barren diagnosis. Cyrus walked over to a table and poured a goblet of water. He handed it to her. You cannot leave, not in your condition. Kaya took the cup. My broken leg? It's healed. Not the leg, Cyrus said softly. The pregnancy. Kaya dropped the goblet. It shattered on the stone floor. That's not funny. I'm barren. That's why he threw me away. Cyrus's eyes narrowed, his pupils narrowing into vertical slits. Wolves! He spat the word like a curse. Their medicine is primitive. They look for wolf signals. They do not know how to look for hybrid signatures. Hybrid? Kaya's hand went to her flat stomach. I scanned you when I brought you here, Cyrus explained, sitting on the edge of the bed. Your uterus is perfectly healthy. The scarring the doctor saw? It was a glamour, a magical illusion placed there to deceive you. You were sabotaged, Kaya. Kaya felt the blood drain from her face. Sabotaged? By who? That is for you to find out later. But the doctor didn't just lie. He was likely paid to plant the illusion. But that is not the most important part. Cyrus leaned in. You are carrying 3 heartbeats, Kaya. Triplets. Kaya burst into tears. Triplets. Declan's triplets. The very thing he destroyed their life for, she had been carrying the whole time. But you said hybrid, Kaya sniffled, wiping her eyes. Declan is a wolf. I'm a wolf. You were a wolf, Cyrus corrected. But you have dormant ancestry. Your great-grandmother. She was not of the Silver Creek. She was of the old blood. The Drakes. Cyrus held up his hand, and his fingernails elongated into talons. Dragon shifters died out centuries ago, or so the world thinks. We went into hiding. Your bloodline was diluted, hidden in wolf packs to keep you safe from hunters. But the stress of the rejection, the proximity to death, it triggered your dormant genes. He pointed to her stomach. Those babies are not just wolves. They are wolf-dragon hybrids. That is why the wolf doctor couldn't detect them. Their magical signature cloaked them from standard ultrasounds. Kaya stared at her hands. She focused, trying to find her wolf. But instead of the familiar golden wolf, she felt something else inside her chest. Something heavy, scaly, hot. What am I? She whispered. You are a mother of the new age, Cyrus said, and you are under the protection of the Obsidian Order now. But know this, carrying 3 hybrids requires immense energy. If you return to the human world, you will die. The magic there is too thin. You must stay here, in the Ethelgard, until the children are born and your powers stabilize. For how long? 5 years, Cyrus said. Kaya looked out the window at the alien sky. 5 years. Declan would think she was dead. Sienna would be Luna. They would be living their happy life while she raised his children in a cave. A fire ignited in her belly. Not grief this time, but ambition. Teach me, Kaya said, her voice hardening. Cyrus raised an eyebrow. Teach you what? Everything, Kaya said. If I'm part dragon, I want to know how to burn. 5 years later, the training grounds of the Ethelgard were scorched. Kaya stood in the center of the ring, wearing black tactical gear made of dragon-scale leather. Her hair, once a soft brown, was now streaked with vibrant crimson. Again! She shouted. Across the ring, 3 children stood. Liam, the oldest by 2 minutes, had Declan's dark hair and grey eyes, but when he grinned, his teeth were slightly too sharp. Noah, the middle child, was the strategist. He held a wooden staff, his eyes glowing a faint amber. And Sophie, the youngest. The girl was a terror. "Get her, boys!" Sophie screamed. Liam shifted, but he didn't turn into a puppy. He exploded into a creature the size of a large dog. A wolf, yes, but with scales along his spine and a tail that whipped like a reptile's. Noah slammed his staff down, and the earth beneath Kaya shook, vines shooting up to trap her ankles. Kaya laughed. She didn't shift. She simply exhaled. A wave of controlled heat, like a blast furnace, rolled off her body, turning the vines to ash instantly. She sidestepped Liam's lunge, grabbing the scaly wolf by the scruff and flipping him gently onto a pile of mats. "Dead," she said to Liam. "You telegraphed your jump. No fair." Liam shifted back, pouting. "You used the heat wave." "All is fair in war, little prince," a deep voice rumbled. Cyrus walked onto the field. He looked exactly the same as the day he saved her. He nodded to Kaya. "You've trained them well, but playtime is over." Kaya straightened, wiping sweat from her brow. "What is it?" "We received a distress signal," Cyrus said, his face grim. "From the west. The barrier is weakening." "Which sector?" Kaya asked, though she already felt the dread pooling in her stomach. "Montana," Cyrus said. "The Silver Creek territory is burning, Kaya. A warlord named Bax has united the rogue factions. He has breached Silver Creek's walls." Kaya went still. "They are slaughtering them," Cyrus continued. "The Alpha, Declan, has been taken prisoner. They are going to execute him on the next full moon to break the pack's spirit." Kaya looked at her children. They were 5 years old, but they were stronger than most adult wolves. They knew who their father was. She had never lied to them. She told them he was a great warrior who had been tricked. She wanted them to know their heritage, even if she hated the man. "Is he dead yet?" Kaya asked quietly. "No, but he will be in 3 days." Kaya turned to the triplets. "Liam, Noah, Sophie, pack your bags." "Where are we going, Mum?" Sophie asked, her eyes widening. Kaya looked toward the portal that led back to the human world. Her eyes flashed, the pupil becoming a vertical slit for a fleeting second. "We're going home," she said. "Someone broke my toys. It's time I remind them who actually owns the sandbox." The Silver Creek Pack House, once a beacon of strength and prosperity in the Montana wilderness, was now a smoldering ruin. The grand mahogany doors had been splintered off their hinges, and the Pack's flag, a silver crescent moon on a field of blue, lay trampled in the mud, stained with the blood of the defenders. Inside the dank, subterranean holding cells, Alpha Declan hung by his wrists. Silver chains burned his skin. Silver was poison to wolves, weakening their healing factor, keeping them in a constant state of agony. But the physical pain was nothing compared to the roiling acid of his own regret. 5 years. For 5 years he had lived in a grey haze. He had done what the council wanted. He had mated with Sienna, and for 5 years the pack had rotted from the inside out. Sienna was not a Luna. She was a socialite who loved the title but loathed the work. She refused to visit the sick. She embezzled pack funds for her trips to Milan and Paris, and worst of all, she was barren. The irony tasted like ash in Declan's mouth. They had tried for an heir for 4 years. Nothing. When Declan finally forced Dr. Harrison to run tests on Sienna, the truth came out. Sienna had been taking high-grade contraceptive herbs since she was a teenager to preserve her figure. She had rendered herself infertile years ago. Kaya hadn't been the broken one. The realization had nearly driven Declan insane 2 years ago, but by then, Kaya was gone, presumed dead. The scouts he sent to find her only found a shredded piece of her dress near the rogue lands. "Enjoying the view, Alpha?" The steel door clanged open. Bax walked in. The rogue warlord was a monster of a man, his face a road map of scars, one eye milky white and blind. He smelled of old blood and rot. Declan spat a mouthful of blood onto the concrete. "Kill me and get it over with, Bax." "My pack will never bow to a stray dog like you," Bax laughed, a wet, rasping sound. Your pack is starving, Declan. They are begging me to take over. They hate you. They hate your useless, screeching mate." Bax stepped aside. Sienna was shoved into the room by 2 rogue guards. She wasn't in chains. She was wearing a pristine white coat, holding a designer bag, looking terrified, but unharmed. "Sienna," Declan croaked. "I'm sorry, Declan," Sienna whimpered, refusing to look at him. "Bax, He promised me safe passage to the southern packs if I gave him the security codes to the armory. Declan stared at her. The betrayal didn't even hurt. He was too numb. You sold us out. 300 people. Families. Children. You sold them for a ticket out. I have to survive, Sienna shrieked, her facade cracking. I'm not going to die in this dump. I should have been a queen. You were never a queen, Declan whispered. You were just a mistake. Bax grabbed Sienna by the back of her neck, making her squeal. Enough family drama. It's time for the main event. He dragged Sienna out, and the guards cut Declan down, hauling him to his feet. They dragged him up the stairs, through the ruined hallways, and out into the courtyard. The rain had returned. It always seemed to rain when Declan's life was falling apart. The surviving members of the Silver Creek pack were herded into the center of the muddy square. Men, women, children, huddled together, shivering, surrounded by 50 armed rogues. Bax shoved Declan into the mud in front of his people. He kicked Declan in the ribs, cracking 2 of them. Declan groaned, curling into a ball. "Behold your Alpha!" Bax roared to the crowd. "Weak, broken. He cannot protect you. Pledge loyalty to me, and you will eat tonight. Refuse, and I will execute him right now, and then I will start on the pups." A low growl rippled through the Silver Creek wolves, but they were too outnumbered to fight. Hope was gone. Bax pulled a jagged iron blade from his belt. He grabbed Declan's hair, yanking his head back to expose his throat. "Any last words, Alpha?" Bax sneered. Declan looked at his pack. He saw the fear in their eyes. He looked at the grey sky. "Kaya," he thought. "I'm coming to find you." "Go to hell," Declan rasped. Bax raised the blade. Boom! The sound wasn't thunder. It was the sound of the massive iron gates at the entrance of the estate exploding inward. Twisted metal flew through the air, decapitating a rogue standing near the perimeter. The entire courtyard froze. Through the smoke and the pouring rain, 3 black SUVs rolled in. They weren't standard pack vehicles. These were military-grade behemoths, matte black, with reinforced plating and tires that crushed the debris beneath them. They stopped in a V formation, blocking the exit. Bax dropped Declan, turning towards the intrusion. "Who dares interrupt me?" The doors of the lead SUV opened. A man stepped out first. He was tall, with long silver hair tied back in a severe ponytail. He wore a black trench coat over a bare chest covered in glowing blue tattoos. He didn't look like a wolf. He looked like death. Then from the back seat, 3 children hopped out. They were small, maybe 5 years old, wearing matching black raincoats. They looked around the carnage, not with fear, but with curiosity. And then, the driver's side door opened. A woman stepped out. She wore black combat boots with stiletto heels that sank into the mud. Her legs were clad in dragon-scale leather pants that shimmered with an iridescent sheen. A fitted tactical vest hugged her torso. Her hair was a wild cascade of brown and crimson waves. She took off her sunglasses, despite the rain. Her eyes were gold, not the soft amber of a wolf, but the burning, molten gold of a predator far higher on the food chain. Declan's heart stopped. He forgot how to breathe. He forgot the pain in his ribs. It was impossible. She was dead. She had to be dead. "Kaya," he whispered, the name a prayer on his cracked lips. Kaya didn't look at him. She looked straight at Bax. She surveyed the rogues, her expression one of utter boredom. "You're in my driveway," she said, her voice smooth and amplified by a silence that had fallen over the entire pack. Bax sneered, though he took a cautious step back. The aura radiating off this woman was suffocating. It felt like standing next to an open oven. "Who are you, bitch? This is rogue territory now." Kaya tilted her head. She snapped her fingers. The silver-haired man, Cyrus, stepped forward. He didn't run. He simply blurred. 1 second he was by the car. The next he was standing in front of the rogue, holding the nearest hostage. Cyrus backhanded the rogue. The rogue's head spun a full 180 degrees with a sickening crack. He was dead before he hit the ground. "I am Kaya of the Ethelgard," she announced, her voice rising. "I am the true Luna of this land, and I suggest you start running, because my children haven't had their exercise today." Bax roared, signaling his men. "Kill them! Kill them all!" The 3 children stepped forward. The little girl, Sophie, smiled. It was a terrifying sight. "Finally!" she chirped. She opened her mouth, and a stream of fire, actual literal fire, erupted from her throat. Pandemonium broke out. The rogues, hardened killers who had fought bears and rival packs, stopped in their tracks. They had seen magic before, perhaps a witch or a shaman, but they had never seen a 5-year-old girl breathing a flamethrower. Sophie's fire wasn't normal orange flame. It was blue and concentrated. It swept across the front line of the rogues, incinerating their weapons and singing their eyebrows. They screamed, scrambling backward, slipping in the mud. "Noah, shield!" Kaya commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. The boy Noah slammed his small hands onto the wet pavement. "Wall!" he shouted. The earth obeyed him. Chunks of concrete and asphalt ripped themselves from the ground, flying up to form a semicircular barricade around the huddled Silver Creek hostages. Protecting them from the confused spray of bullets, the rogues began to fire. "Liam, clear the path!" Liam, the oldest, didn't use magic. He used brute force. He let out a roar that sounded like a lion mixed with a turbine engine. His body shifted, muscles swelling, ripping through his raincoat. He didn't turn into a full wolf, but into a lichen hybrid form. 7 feet tall, covered in scales and fur, with claws the size of butcher knives. He charged. He hit the rogue line like a bowling ball hitting pins. Men flew into the air. Liam grabbed a rogue by the vest and threw him into a brick wall 30 feet away. Declan watched, paralyzed on the ground. He couldn't process what he was seeing. Those children. They had his chin. They had his nose, but they had Kaya's eyes. Triplets, his mind supplied. Alpha triplets. But Kaya, she was moving now. She didn't run. She glided. 2 rogues rushed her with machetes. Kaya didn't even draw a weapon. She caught the first rogue's wrist mid-swing, twisting it until the bone snapped. With her other hand, she punched him in the chest. It wasn't a normal punch. Her fist glowed with kinetic energy. The impact sent a shockwave through the rogue's body, stopping his heart instantly. The second rogue hesitated. That was his mistake. Kaya spun, her leg connecting with his head in a roundhouse kick that knocked him unconscious instantly. She walked toward Declan. Bax, realizing his men were being dismantled by 3 children and a woman, panicked. He saw Declan on the ground and lunged for him, intending to use the Alpha as a human shield. "I'll kill him!" Bax screamed, grabbing Declan by the throat and pressing the knife to his artery. "Back off or the Alpha dies!" The fighting stopped. The triplets paused, looking at their mother. Kaya stopped 10 feet away. She looked at Declan. Her face was unreadable. There was no love there, but there was no pity either. Just cold calculation. "Let him go, Bax," Kaya said calmly. "You think I'm stupid?" Bax spat. "Get back in your cars and leave," Kaya sighed. "You're threatening me with a hostage I don't care about." Declan flinched. The words hurt more than the broken ribs. "But," Kaya continued, taking a step forward, her boot crunching on the gravel, "he is the father of my children, and nobody kills their father but me." Bax's eyes widened. "Father?" "Noah," Kaya said softly. "Anchor." Noah, standing 20 yards away, clenched his fist. Vines erupted from the concrete beneath Bax's feet, wrapping around his ankles and calves like steel cables. Bax yelled, trying to pull free, but he was rooted. "Cyrus," Kaya said. Cyrus was suddenly behind Bax. He didn't touch the warlord. He simply placed a hand on Bax's shoulder. "Burn!" Heat transferred from Cyrus's hand. Bax shrieked as his shoulder pad melted into his skin. He dropped the knife, releasing Declan. Declan scrambled away, coughing, dragging himself through the mud until his back hit the fountain in the center of the square. Kaya stood over Bax. The warlord was on his knees, held by vines, smoking from Cyrus's touch. "You made a mess of my home," Kaya said. She grabbed Bax by his jaw, forcing him to look at her. "And you scared my kids. Bad form." She twisted his neck. It was quick. Mercy, really. She let the body fall. Silence descended on the courtyard. The remaining rogues, seeing their leader dead and their numbers decimated by the demonic children, dropped their weapons and fled into the woods. Liam roared to chase them, but Kaya held up a hand. "Let them go," she ordered. "They will tell the others what happened here. Fear is a better border guard than a fence." Kaya turned around. The adrenaline faded from her stance, but the power remained. She looked at the Silver Creek pack. They were staring at her as if she were a goddess descended from the stars. And then she looked at Declan. He was a mess. Bloody, muddy, broken. He tried to stand, to meet her eye to level, but his legs failed him. "Kaya," he rasped. "You're alive." "Obviously," she said, her voice clipped. And the children." Declan looked at the 3 small figures walking towards them. Liam had shifted back to human form, naked and unashamed, while Cyrus threw a blanket over him. Sophie was wiping soot off her face. Noah looked bored. "That—" "Triplets," Kaya said. "Liam, Noah, Sophie." "Mine?" Declan asked, tears cutting tracks through the grime on his face. "Biologically? Yes," Kaya said coldly. "But you lost the right to claim them the day you threw me out into a storm to die." "I didn't know," Declan pleaded, reaching out a hand. "Kaya, please." "The doctor, Harrison. He showed me the papers. He said you were Barren. I did it for the pack." "Oh, save the tragic Alpha speech," a sharp voice cut in. Sienna was crouching behind a planter, shivering. She had tried to hide during the fight. Kaya's eyes snapped to Sienna. The gold in her irises swirled. She walked over to the blonde woman. Sienna cowered, putting her hands up. "Kaya, wait, I was just doing what my father told me. I didn't mean to—" Kaya reached down and grabbed Sienna by the collar of her expensive coat, hauling her to her feet. "Dr. Harrison confessed 3 years ago," Kaya lied smoothly. She hadn't seen Harrison, but she knew how to play the game. "Before he died in a bar fight in Reno, he said you paid him $50,000 to fake the ultrasound." A gasp went through the pack. The survivors murmured, their shock turning to anger. "No, that's a lie!" Sienna shrieked. "Is it?" Kaya pulled a folded piece of paper from her tactical vest. It was blank, just a grocery list, but Sienna didn't know that. Kaya waved it in her face. "I have his confession right here." Sienna's eyes darted back and forth. She crumbled. "I had to. You were going to take everything. I deserved to be Luna. I have the bloodline." "You have nothing," Kaya said, disgust dripping from her voice. She shoved Sienna backward. "Get her out of my sight. Lock her in the cells until the council can deal with her treason." 2 of the pack warriors, emboldened by Kaya's return, grabbed Sienna. She screamed and kicked as they dragged her away, but no one looked at her with sympathy. Kaya turned back to Declan. He was staring at the ground, his shoulders shaking. The truth had finally hit him. He had destroyed his own happiness, exiled his mate, and nearly doomed his pack, all for a lie he was too weak to question. He looked up. "Kaya, kill me. Please, I don't deserve to live." Kaya looked down at him. She saw the man she used to love, the man who used to braid flowers into her hair. But that man was gone. Sophie tugged on Kaya's pants. "Mummy, is that the donor?" Kaya almost smiled. "Yes, Sophie, that's him." She knelt down in front of Declan. She didn't offer a hand to help him up. She leaned in close, so only he could hear. "Death is easy, Declan," she whispered. "Living with your mistakes. That's the real torture. You're not going to die today. You're going to watch." "Watch what?" he whispered. "Watch me rule the pack you couldn't save," she said. She stood up and turned to the crowd. "My name is Kaya. Who?" she shouted, her voice booming with the Alpha command she had absorbed from her dragon bloodline. "I have returned, and Silver Creek is under my protection now." The pack didn't hesitate. One by one, they fell to their knees. Not for Declan. For her. Cyrus watched from the shadows, a small smile playing on his lips. "Long live the Queen," he murmured. The rain had finally stopped, replaced by a thick, suffocating fog that rolled off the mountains and settled over the ruins of Silver Creek. 3 days had passed since Kaya's return. The pack house was a hive of activity, but the atmosphere was brittle. Wolves moved with their heads down, eyes darting towards the east wing, where Kaya and her entourage had set up their temporary command center. Declan sat in his office, or what was left of it. One wall was missing, replaced by a plastic tarp that flapped noisily in the wind. He was bandaged, his ribs knit together but still aching with a dull throb. He wasn't the Alpha anymore. Not really. He was a figurehead, a ghost haunting his own throne. The door opened. It wasn't Kaya, it was Beta Samuel, his father-in-law, or ex-father-in-law, now that Sienna was rotting in the dungeon. Samuel looked aged, his skin grey. "They're here, Alpha," Samuel said quietly. "The council?" Declan asked, rubbing his temples. "Yes, Elder Thomas and the tribunal. They are demanding an audience in the Great Hall. They want to see her." Declan stood up, wincing. "Let's get this over with." The Great Hall had been scrubbed of blood, but the scent of violence lingered. Kaya was already there. She sat at the head of the long oak table, not in the Alpha's chair, but on top of the table itself, her legs crossed, sharpening a long obsidian dagger. Cyrus stood behind her like a silent sentinel. The triplets were playing in the corner. Noah was levitating wooden blocks, stacking them into impossible towers. Sophie was melting a spoon with her fingertip. Liam was gnawing on a deer bone, watching the door. The double doors swung open. Elder Thomas walked in, flanked by 4 enforcers in grey suits. Thomas was a relic of the old ways, a wolf who believed in blood purity above all else. He was the one who had pressured Declan to reject Kaya 5 years ago. Thomas stopped, his nose wrinkling in distaste as he looked at Cyrus, then at the children. "So the rumors are true," Thomas said, his voice dry as parchment. "You have brought beasts into our sanctuary." Kaya didn't look up from her knife. "I brought the salvation you were too weak to provide, Thomas." "Watch your tone, female," Thomas snapped. He looked at Declan, who had just entered. "Alpha Declan, explain this. Why is a rejected mate sitting at the high table, and why are there abominations playing with pack heirlooms?" The room went deadly silent. Liam stopped chewing the bone. Noah's blocks fell to the floor. Declan stepped forward. "They are my children, Thomas." "They are mutations," Thomas roared, slamming his hand on a chair. "I have seen the reports. Fire breath? Telekinesis? These are not wolves. They are pollution in the Silver Creek bloodline. The council demands they be handed over for study." Kaya stopped sharpening the knife. The scraping sound ceased. She hopped off the table. Her heels clicked on the stone floor as she walked toward Thomas. She was a head shorter than him, but she loomed like a giant. "Study?" Kaya repeated softly. "You want to put my children in a lab?" "To ensure they are not a threat," Thomas said, puffing out his chest. "And you, Kaya, your status is irregular. You were rejected. You have no rank here. You will leave these grounds immediately. The children stay." Declan felt a surge of rage he hadn't felt in years. "No," he said. Thomas turned to him. "Excuse me?" Declan moved, placing himself between Kaya and the elder. "I said no. I made the mistake of listening to you 5 years ago. You told me duty required a pure heir. You told me to throw away my mate. And look where it got us. Ruin, betrayal. My pack was nearly wiped out. You are weak, Declan," Thomas sneered. "That is why you failed." "Maybe," Declan admitted, "but I am still the Alpha by blood, and I recognize these children as my heirs. If you want them, you go through me." Thomas laughed. You can barely stand." He signaled his enforcers. "Seize the children. Remove the woman." The 4 enforcers moved. "Liam," Kaya said, her voice bored. "Fetch." Liam didn't need to be told twice. He launched himself across the room. He didn't shift fully, just his arms and teeth. He tackled the first enforcer, throwing him through the drywall. Sophie giggled. She pointed a finger at the second enforcer. A circle of blue fire erupted around his feet. "Dance!" she squealed. The wolf yelped, hopping frantically to avoid the flames. The third enforcer drew a gun. Before he could aim, Cyrus was there. He caught the gun barrel, crushing the steel with his bare hand as if it were aluminum foil. He backhanded the man into unconsciousness. The 4th enforcer froze, looking at Noah. Noah sat on the floor, his eyes glowing amber. He didn't move. He simply stared. The enforcer suddenly grabbed his own head, screaming. "Make it stop! Make the whispering stop!" the man shrieked, falling to his knees. "Noah, release him!" Kaya ordered. The boy blinked and the man collapsed, panting. Kaya stood in front of a trembling elder Thomas. "You called them abominations," Kaya whispered, leaning in. "I call them the evolution. The old ways are dead, Thomas. The Silver Creek Pack is under the protection of the Dragon Wolf Alliance now." "The Council will send an army," Thomas stammered, backing away. "Let them come," Kaya said. She reached out and straightened his tie. "But tell them this. If any wolf steps foot on my territory with ill intent, I won't just kill them. I will find where they live, and I will burn their legacy to the ground." She stepped back. "Get out." Thomas fled. When the doors closed, the adrenaline faded. Declan slumped against the wall, clutching his side. Kaya turned to him. It was the first time she had looked at him with anything other than contempt. "You stood up for them," she said. "They're my kids," Declan muttered. "I failed you, Kaya. I won't fail them." "We'll see," Kaya said, her voice cooling again. "Words are easy, Declan, but we have a war coming, and I need to know if you're actually an alpha or just a man wearing a title." The weeks that followed were a blur of construction and tension. News of the Dragon Luna spread throughout the region. Rogue attacks ceased completely. No one wanted to mess with the pack that had a flamethrower-wielding child. But the silence was unnerving. Declan found himself in a strange purgatory. He was allowed to see the children, but only under supervision, usually Cyrus's. It was a Tuesday afternoon, crisp and autumnal. Declan was in the garden, trying to teach Liam how to throw a football. "No, you have to spin it," Declan said, demonstrating the grip. "Like a spiral." Liam looked at the ball, then at Declan. "Why? If I want to hit the target, I just throw it hard." Liam hurled the ball. It didn't spiral. It flew like a cannonball, punching a hole through the wooden fence 50 yards away. Declan sighed. "Okay, good arm. But control is important. Mum says control is for people who can't overpower their enemies," Liam said, crossing his arms. "Your mum has a unique perspective," Declan said carefully. "Why did you make her leave?" Liam asked suddenly. The question hit Declan like a physical blow. He looked at his son, this boy who looked so much like him but felt like a stranger. "I was stupid," Declan said honestly. "I thought I was doing the right thing for everyone else, and I stopped listening to my heart." "Cyrus says you were weak," Liam said. "He says wolves are pack animals, but dragons are solitary because they don't need anyone to tell them they are strong." "Cyrus says a lot, doesn't he?" Declan muttered, a spark of jealousy flaring. He looked up toward the balcony. Cyrus and Kaya were standing there, heads bent together over a map. Cyrus's hand rested on the small of Kaya's back. It looked natural, familiar. Declan felt a bond in his chest ache. Even though he had rejected her, the biological pull never fully went away for him. Seeing another male touch her was torture. Are they together?" Declan asked. Hating himself for asking a 5-year-old, Liam shrugged. "Cyrus is Cyrus. He's our guardian. He sleeps in the cave." "Cave. Under the house. He likes the dark." Before Declan could probe further, a siren wailed. It wasn't the perimeter alarm. It was the biological hazard alarm. Declan scooped up Liam and ran towards the house. "Get inside! Find your siblings!" He burst into the main hall. Kaya was already there, shouting orders. "Seal the vents! Noah, create a filter bubble around Sophie." "What's happening?" Declan demanded. "Airborne toxin," Cyrus said, sniffing the air. His eyes were watering. "Wolfsbane, but modified. It's aerosolized. Wolfsbane in the air. If the wolves inhaled it, their lungs would liquefy. Get everyone to the basement!" Declan roared to his betas. "Go, now!" The pack scrambled. The ventilation system hissed, pumping in the poisoned air. Wolves began to cough, clutching their throats, falling to the ground, foaming at the mouth. "It's not working fast enough," Kaya said, her face pale. "The vents are compromised. We need to block the intake from the outside." "The intake is on the roof," Declan said. "The air up there is thick with it." "I'll go," Cyrus said, extending his wings. "No!" Kaya grabbed his arm. "Wolfsbane hurts wolves, but it acts like a neurotoxin to dragons. You'll be paralyzed before you reach the chimney." "Then who?" Cyrus growled. "I can't let them die." Declan looked at the chaos. He looked at Liam, who was coughing into his shirt. He looked at Kaya. "I'll go," Declan said. Kaya looked at him. "You'll die. The concentration up there." "I'm an alpha," Declan said. "I can hold my breath longer than anyone, and I know the manual override code." He didn't wait for permission. He grabbed a wet cloth, tied it around his face, and ran. He sprinted up the stairs, his lungs burning already. The air was yellow with the gas. He kicked open the roof access door. The world was swimming. A drone hovered above the house, spraying a yellow mist directly into the intake fans. Declan stumbled across the roof tiles. His skin felt like it was on fire. The wolfsbane was seeping into his pores. He reached the intake unit. The manual valve was rusted shut. "Come on," he screamed internally. "Turn." He shoved his weight against the wheel. He felt his muscles tearing. He coughed, inhaling a lungful of poison. Blood sprayed from his lips, but he thought of Liam. He thought of the way Kaya looked at him, with disappointment. Not this time. With a primal roar, he forced the wheel. Metal screeched. The valve slammed shut. The intake fans whirred to a halt. Declan collapsed on the roof, the drone hovering over him. He looked up. The drone had a symbol painted on its underbelly. A red cross with a snake wrapped around a sword. The Venatori. The Hunters. A laser sight from the nearby tree line centered on Declan's chest. "Target acquired," a voice crackled from the drone. Declan was too weak to move. He closed his eyes, waiting for the bullet. Whoosh! A blur of motion. Kaya landed on the roof beside him. She hadn't shifted, but she was surrounded by a shield of shimmering heat that vaporized the gas around her. She looked at the laser dot on Declan's chest. She stepped in front of it. "Mum!" Liam screamed from the skylight below. The sniper fired. Kaya caught the bullet. She didn't use magic. She literally caught it. Her hand moved faster than sound, snatching the high-caliber round out of the air just inches from her heart. Smoke curled from her gloved palm. She looked towards the tree line. Her eyes were no longer human. They were vertical, glowing slits of pure draconic rage. She opened her mouth, and this time it wasn't a shout. It was a sound that shattered the windows of the house below. "Noah!" she screamed telepathically. "Bring me the sky!" From the safety of the basement, Noah's eyes rolled back in his head. Above the house, the clouds darkened instantly. A bolt of lightning, thick as a redwood tree, struck the forest where the sniper was hiding. The explosion shook the earth. Trees shattered. The drone malfunctioned and crashed. Kaya dropped the bullet. She knelt beside Declan. He was convulsing, blue foam on his lips. "Declan," she said, her voice shaking, "stay with me." "Did I do good?" he gasped, blood bubbling. "You idiot," she whispered, placing her glowing hands on his chest. "You saved them. Now shut up and let me save you." She poured her energy into him. It wasn't the gentle healing of a wolf. It was the burning, cauterizing magic of a dragon. It hurt like hell. Declan screamed, his back arching, and then darkness took him. Declan woke with a gasp, his chest heaving. He wasn't in the hospital wing, but in Kaya's bed, the scent of lavender and sulfur filling his lungs. He looked down at his chest. The skin where the wolfsbane had burned him was new, unblemished save for a faint, shimmering scar in the shape of a dragon's claw over his heart. "You're awake," Cyrus said from the corner. "Kaya stabilized you. But my blood changed you. You aren't just a wolf anymore." Before Declan could respond, an explosion rocked the foundation of the house. Kaya burst into the room, her golden eyes wild. "The Venatori! They found us!" Declan rushed to the window. The estate was swarming. Soldiers in white tactical gear were breaching the perimeter, led by a massive armored tank. And standing in the turret, screaming directions, was Sienna. "She gave them the codes," Declan growled, his eyes flashing a bright, unnatural electric blue. "Fight now, guilt later," Kaya ordered, handing him a spear. "Can you stand?" Declan didn't just stand. He shifted. The transformation was instantaneous. His wolf was no longer just grey. It was massive, with metallic blue scales protecting his spine and claws that looked like obsidian. They charged into the courtyard. It was a slaughterhouse. The Venatori, an ancient order of hunters, were using anti-magic technology. Commander Sterling, the leader, aimed a massive cannon glowing with green krypton energy directly at Kaya. "Kaya, move!" Declan roared through the mind link. He leaped, intercepting the blast. The energy should have disintegrated him, but his new hybrid physiology absorbed it. He landed, smoking but unbroken, roaring a challenge that shook the trees. Taking the opening, Kaya launched herself off Declan's back, driving her spear into the tank's engine block. It exploded in a ball of fire, throwing Sienna into the mud. Commander Sterling crawled from the wreckage, pulling a sidearm. "You monsters!" But before he could fire, the ground erupted. The triplets walked out of the smoke. They hadn't stayed in the bunker. "Nobody hurts my dad," Liam growled. The 5-year-old grabbed the bumper of a jeep and flipped it over with one hand, crushing the soldiers behind it. Noah raised his hands, and the mud in the courtyard turned to quicksand, trapping 50 soldiers instantly. Then Sophie stepped forward. Commander Sterling aimed his gun at the little girl. "Stay back!" "I'm not a little girl," Sophie chirped. "I'm a dragon." She snapped her fingers. A pillar of concentrated blue fire descended from the heavens, incinerating Sterling where he stood. Silence fell over the battlefield. The remaining hunters surrendered immediately. Sienna tried to crawl away into the bushes, but Declan, now back in human form, stepped in her path. "Declan, please," she sobbed, covered in soot. "They forced me." Declan looked at Kaya. She stood with her arms crossed, the triplets flanking her, looking like a goddess of war. She gave a slight nod. "Your pack, your call." Declan looked down at Sienna. "You betrayed your blood. You tried to kill my children. You are not a wolf, you are a rat. I exile you," he announced, his voice carrying the crushing weight of Alpha command. "If I ever see you on Silver Creek land again, I will not hesitate." Sienna fled into the woods, weeping, destined to live a short, hard life as a rogue. The sun began to set over the ruins of the battlefield. The pack was battered, but alive. Declan walked over to Kaya, his body aching, but his heart full. "We won," he said, sounding surprised. "We did," Kaya replied, wiping a smear of blood from his cheek. "Kaya," Declan said, his voice thick with emotion, "I know I broke us 5 years ago. I can't undo that. But seeing you today, seeing our family, I want to try. Not to be your alpha, but to be your partner, to earn my place as their father." Kaya looked at the triplets. Liam was high-fiving Cyrus. Sophie was chasing a butterfly she had accidentally set on fire. She looked back at Declan. The bond was scarred, but it was still there, a golden thread connecting their souls. "You have a long way to go, Declan," she said softly, a small smile touching her lips. "But you can start by putting on some pants, Alpha. We have a pack to feed." The Silver Creek pack had fallen, but from the ashes the Dragon Alliance had risen. And this time the Alpha wouldn't let go. And that is the incredible fiery saga of Kaya and Declan, From a heartbreaking rejection in the rain to a battlefield victory with dragon shifter triplets, they proved that sometimes the bond isn't about fate. It's about fighting for what you love. Kaya didn't just return. She reinvented the entire game, showing us that Barren was just a label, but Mother is a superpower. Declan learned the hard way that true strength isn't about lineage or council rules, but about standing by your family when the world is burning down around you. If this story had you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button. I want to know, do you think Declan deserves a second chance, or should Kaya have left him in the dust? Let me know in the comments below with Team Dragon or Team Alpha. And if you want more stories about rejected mates getting their ultimate revenge and finding true power, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next story.